Board of Works meeting to order. Phyllis, going to have a roll call.
Craig Kershaw.
Here.
Bill Carva.
Here.
Ken Meyer.
Here. Bill and Craig, you're both emailed copies of the minutes from our May 15th meeting. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve those minutes.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the May 15th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Okay, that's taken care of. First thing that I have this evening, I'm going to skip that and come back to it. Jeremy, are you ready to go right off the get-go on the financing of the new sweeper? Wait till the council members are here for this.
Do you have the copies of that we talked about? Final copies. Anyway, we've met since the last meeting, and that was Brown Equipment, and reviewed all the numbers, reviewed the trade numbers for our current sweeper. And then at the same time, we had another sweeper company come in, and actually we looked at a little different style sweeper just to make sure that, you know, this is exactly what we wanted to do.
The invoice.
What's that?
Invoice, is that what you wanted?
Yeah. And by far the consensus was that even weighing in the cost of everything, the cost associated, there really wasn't a savings by changing to another vendor or changing to another brand sweeper. So yesterday I did register with the NJPA to be able to buy, you know, direct from a lot of these companies on the state national contract. So that's all been approved. So basically, tonight what I'm requesting is $201,694.
Pretty nice ride.
How this will be paid is with council approval and Board of Works approval. We'll need to do an additional appropriation for the MVH street fund of $100,000, and then the $101,694 would be paid from the stormwater department.
How much was the last one?
$101,694. We did speak with Kevin today after the department head meeting. Ken and Phyllis and I and Kevin and Don all discussed this. Everyone's on board with this. So it appears it could be a pretty quick turnaround. But I'm just requesting that for this evening.
Is our 15,000 trade-in allowance?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The original cost was $216,694.
So 15 trade-in, 101,694 coming from stormwater, and 100,000, which is going to be reappropriated from MVH funds.
Additional appropriation.
Additional appropriation.
Additional appropriations out of MVH Street. So, they were hoping to be able to get a little higher on the trade, but once they dug into our original sweeper, they're understanding why we're having some issues with it, and they had to back down to the 15,000.
Did you get our original, or our sweeper going there?
Yeah,
it looked like it ran for a while, huh?
It's hit and miss. It's not been so bad the last week or so, but hopefully we can, you know, get by a few more weeks here.
I got you. And then, while I'm talking to you, the mayor and I discussed it this week. We've got some vehicles that are sitting on the street for, I've heard, over a year. that just don't move? Maybe you can inform your sweeper person to let me know or let Lenny know. I've not discussed this with Lenny, but I'm sure he'd be cooperative with it because Mike worked with me this week. I think instead of putting a limit, I think what we'll do is go ahead and put a 10-day tag on these vehicles and call them inoperable because they haven't moved. And if they don't do anything in that 10-day period, then I think we'll just go ahead and throw a 3-day sticker, a towaway sticker on them.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's certain areas, and I've spotted vehicles that's sitting there, that the sweeper actually goes around and misses the drain, which is, the intent is to clean our storm drains out.
Yeah,
And
there's times that there's some areas you don't even sweep because a lot of the cars are...
yeah, I know Willie's talked to me and who am I thinking of? Joe has talked to me, and we've gotten vehicles moved, but I think we'll just go ahead that way instead of making an ordinance for a certain period that they can't sit on the street. Just try to get them moved by declaring them inoperable. I've thought about it. I don't know how we enforce a ordinance to say you can only park here for a month or for 2 months or 3 months. It'd be a pretty hard one to enforce after thinking about it, so.
Well, is there a way can we put some type of sticker on that we're going to street sweep this day, get this vehicle out of the way?
A lot of it is schedule dependent, time dependent, we have a water main break in the middle of the night.
But if they see one like Joe's,
Early in the morning, we pull that guy.
And just whoever's driving, if it's Joe or Derek, whoever's driving it, they encounter repetitious, a vehicle that's always sitting there and it hasn't been moved, there's weeds growing under it, whatever, bring it to Bill and Lenny's attention, we'll work around it. Yeah. So back to the street sweeper now.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up other than,
All right.
I was thinking about that ever since I talked to you about ordinance for violations. And
So that's the price.
You need a motion?
I think that you shared with us this morning that the company actually has a couple of them that are coming in, and if we approve this, you can get our name on one, and rather than on here with the delivery being 120 days, it can be maybe just days, a few days, a week or so. That's great. That's great. So with that, yeah, I would take it a motion.
I'd make a motion to give the additional appropriation for a sweeper.
a second.
So the motion would be for the additional appropriation of $100,000 from MVH
101,694.
and $101,694 from Stormwater, and with a $15,000 trade-in, we'd be paying whatever comes out, $201,694 for the sweeper. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, get her ordered.
Jeremy, is this actually from Global, or they're just the
No.
manufacturer?
No, Global is just the manufacturer. It'll actually be through Brownwood. You're getting this for that.
Yeah, just one.
Just stay where you're at. We'll just go through all the things that you're involved with.
I was thinking about that. I didn't make it back yesterday for that.
Next thing I'll bring up is talking about the plaza and that we want to use it this weekend. So we had Mr. Baker write up a release of, not that the plaza is done, has been inspected, and that it's perfect, because it isn't. There's things that's, there's still work to be done down there. But with this agreement that Tim wrote up, it would kind of relieve Primco of any liability while we use the western half of the plaza this weekend for the first concert and for the sculpture tour.
Correct. Primco's biggest thing was the liability being that there will be alcohol on the property and be using that part of the plaza. Granted, if something happens, like Tim will vouch for, everyone will be named anyhow. You know, it's liability.
This is only a couple paragraphs long. Let me read it and make sure that you're in agreement with how it reads. As you're aware, Primco Inc. was awarded the Madison Street Plaza project in Decatur, Indiana, with the hope that construction would substantially be completed by the city's 2018 sculpture unveiling event to be held on June 8th, 2018. Primco Inc. has worked diligently and closely with the city to meet this goal. However, inclement weather will have prevented completion of the entire project by June 8th. Nevertheless, Primco has completed enough of the contracted work on the west half of the plaza that the city would like to utilize this portion of the plaza for the 2018 sculpture unveiling event June 8th, even though the plaza remains under construction. If such use is permitted by Primco, the city agrees to temporarily assume control over this section of the plaza during this event and further agrees to assume liability for damage to the plaza arising from related to such use. Furthermore, the city agrees to indemnify, defend, and hold harmless Primco Inc., its employees, officers, directors, successors, and assigns from and against claims for bodily injury or property damage arising from or related to the city's use of this portion of the project. Such use would commence at 5 p.m. on Thursday. Is that early enough, Craig? June 7th, and would end on Saturday, June 9th at noon. Thereafter, the city's right to use the plaza would terminate, and Primco would reassume full control over the project until its completion. Now, after that, the next thing we would use it for would be 2 weeks from then for the next concert.
1 week.
1 week out. Oh, just 1 week. So we may have to just basically copy this and change the date for another one a week later.
There's 4 of them for the... If you want us to move that thing over to
The other side.
if you want us to just move to...
It's going to be
22nd
very,
here.
very close to being completed. I think I would just hold off, and we could talk with Todd back and forth, being that it's just more of a concert-based, besides what you're going to do on Friday with the wine tent and stuff. So that.
What are you saying? Are you saying to do the concert over there this
No,
week?
no. I would just leave it the way it's planned.
For this week?
But next week, you know, we'll kind of see where they're at, because you're only Tuesday. He's almost to the end.
Mm-hmm.
By tomorrow night, he's hoping to have a couple of those half circles done. See, Thursday, he's going to be really, really close.
Well, they still got landscaping and benches and lights.
That's going to be a total different crew. That's not the crew that's here.
Mhm.
So, let's just approve what you are proposing.
For now, okay.
For now. We'll readdress it again next week, which I don't think it's going to really
Now,
be
does
an
this need to go
issue.
before council too? No, just... Okay.
So I would just leave it the way you have planned, and then we will address the rest of it next week.
So with that, are you, the two of you, okay with me signing this assumption of liability?
I make a motion to to conduct the mayor to sign the release for liability on the plaza with Primco.
Were you going to say something?
What's that?
Were you going to say
No,
something?
I was just going to say I would do it by motion.
Okay.
Second, yeah.
I am signing it, except for Tim did one thing.
What'd I do? What'd I do? Put a plural?
You made me big again.
That's my fault.
It's all right.
I'm learning too, Tim.
No, I knew better.
Release of liability for plaza to be signed by mayor. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a unanimous vote?
Passed.
That was unanimous.
Yes, it was all, yeah, thank you. It was unanimous.
I was thinking about not, but...
No, is that right? You think
Bid opening for Country Brook Lift Station. Don, Ann, are you guys in on that one?
All right.
The bid opening for the Country Brook Lift Station. How many bids do you have, Ann? Or, Phyllis, you're not Ann. Oh, one bid.
Ooh, that makes it easy.
You want to do the honors? This is opening of the bids for the Country Brook Lift Station, which we had already kind of awarded once, and
We can, yeah.
And then we
Hopefully they didn't raise.
Okay. Need to make the legal notice of the bidding a matter of record. One of you?
So moved.
Second, yeah.
Motion and a second to make this a matter of record. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right. Take it away, Tim.
There's one bid, it's submitted by Plumbing Excavating, Inc., out of Decatur, Indiana.
You want to open it? Tim? I got openers.
I got it.
Fire knife. Oh, I hope it's low.
How much was it before?
Bid bound in the amount of 10% of the bid is submitted.
Here.
The bid is $166,512.26. 166,512.26.
And Crosby didn't bid it at all. And we were going to go with that.
And the bid, should also point out, the bid was properly executed. There's various supporting documents related to the
Make a motion that we take that bid under advisement.
For 2 weeks? Bill?
Or whatever that falls in that.
Second, yeah.
Till the 19th, yeah. I have a motion and a second to take the bid under advisement for review until the June 19th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Jeremy, next thing that you had is request to rent a vac.
Yeah.
What?
This is
Vacuum.
our every 2-year sewer and catch basin cleaning and inspection year. In years past, we've always pulled that little vac trailer around and it takes you a whole entire summer and you still don't get it completed. 2 years ago, we tried something a little different. We actually rented a vac truck to do the whole entire city in about 11 days, I believe. We had been through the city one time, so it shows the difference the difference that it takes having the right equipment to do it. Additionally, we did a lot of other work with that back truck that we had to hire out in years past, with cleaning the storm defender, cleaning the salt pits at the water treatment plant and some other things. So we did keep it a whole entire month the last time. It gives like $10,500 2 years ago. I think it's went up to $11,500 this year. The one quote is from Jack Duhaney Company for $11,500. I don't remember who the other guy was from Illinois.
Jack Dehaney
And he
and
was $12,000.
Is that who we had last time?
We had Jack Duhaney the last time.
Is he they've been in town already, haven't they? Or they were sitting on Elm Street the other day.
Yeah, possibly. Yes.
So,
They do a lot of different work for people, but we're
I see.
actually renting the truck and not an operator. We do it with our own operators
Okay.
and our own.
EJ Equipment was the other one.
Yeah, Ben got me in touch with that guy, and I've never done with him before.
Who's the one that bid 11.5?
Jack Duhaney Company.
D-O-H-E-N-Y, Dohaney.
What this requires is the city to insure the truck for the month for the replacement value, which is normal for rentals. This will be prorated out through stormwater, probably wastewater and water, as it's being used for that period of time to help the cost out. It's something that needs to be done. I feel we could probably actually cover it a little quicker this time around, since we cleaned them all 2 years ago. This will just kind of be a trial to see exactly how many days we do actually need it going forward. We're required by the state of Indiana to clean everything at least every 2 years, preferably annually, but we're on a 2-year cycle. So
don't we have 2 of those big receptors that stormwater has
I believe, yes.
Those
It
pits?
was- Yeah, the biggest one is over here at First Street lot that took quite a while to get cleaned out, but we've always hired that out before because we didn't have
Exactly.
the help, which the guys were able to clean it 2 years ago, so.
And
It's
that's,
very worth the money. I
Yep.
realize it's $11,500, but for what you're getting, it's definitely worth it.
And we assume you'll schedule with all departments if there's any necessary needs? I'll make a motion.
Will one or two people be assigned to this apparatus?
Yeah, we had 3, sometimes 4. The last time we did it, one guy was driving, one guy was actually running the hose, another guy was doing traffic control. That way they kept a continuous, because the more guys you throw at it, the least productive you are, because the new guys are trying to figure out
Exactly, well, that's,
how to run it and what to do. So it's, we normally get a guy or two from the wastewater plant, depending on the scheduling, a guy out of Public Works, and then whoever we can get, you know, to kind of follow and watch traffic. So Don will probably lead the crew this time, or the majority of it, so he gets a pretty good idea what he needs to replace going forward and maintain.
okay.
So it's just not a, general worker out there doing the cleaning and inspection, so he will oversee a lot of that.
did you have Daryl? Daryl was running the little vacuum, right? Did he help on the big?
No, it was more, years ago, I used to run it, and then Marty Martin ran it, and then it was whoever we could get over the years, and then, to be honest with you, a few years it just didn't get done, because we didn't have the equipment to do it. So, which it's really working out well by having a bigger machine to do that.
What do you think, guys?
I think I'd like to make a motion to rent the vacuum truck for $11,500 a month from Jack Dehaney, and leave the crew up to Jeremy, who runs it. He trains to run it, sign off.
And it was going to be paid for by water, stormwater, and wastewater together?
Depending on their usage.
Gotcha.
The stormwater will end up paying the majority, but
Okay.
we're breaking out, by the week or however it comes out to be.
Okay,
To be paid by departments that use it.
Correct.
right. I had a motion, did you second that, Bill?
Yes, I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Did you have anything else for Jeremy while he's sitting there, Tim? I don't have anything more, I don't think.
No.
Okay. Lenny? Couple things that you have tonight. One, the resignation, and then the request. On which one? Yes, I have them right here. Sandwiched in between the... There they are. You have the floor, Lenny.
Okay, I gave you a copy of Seth Colwell's letter of resignation. He resigned on the 28th of May 2018. Me and Deputy Chief Mahan, he actually requested to speak to us, and he just basically said this job was not for him. So, excuse me, he finished out the day. He thanked us for the opportunity, but this is not something that he wanted to do as a career. So we thanked him for being honest with us, because he was supposed to report to the academy June 11th for the physical agility entrance exam, and then June 18th would be reporting for 16 weeks. So that's his letter, and I guess I'm seeking permission to fill that slot as soon as possible.
Yeah,
What are the pictures for? Just showing the equipment that he needs?
that's another whole topic.
Oh, okay.
Two topics.
Sorry.
Seth's one of the last three that we brought on all at the same time, him,
Correct.
Daniel Hunter, and Leonard
Rumschlag.
Rumschlag.
Yes.
Thank you. And it just didn't work out for him. It's not what he thought it was going to be,
Not,
and he's not the first one, won't be the last one.
won't be the last one, no.
And, well, we hope he is, but
Yeah.
probably won't be.
Correct.
So, you know, things like this happen. Unfortunately, we were hoping to get our PD up to the full strength, and now we're taking a step back here again. You have some applicants that you may consider looking at already from this last go-around, and then I think you may have some other things up your sleeve where you may take a couple of other names from...
Correct.
Yeah, possible laterals or something that are interested. Laterals we don't have to send off to the academy. So,
Correct.
We save a ton.
yeah. So with that, I look for, okay for Lenny to go ahead and proceed with interviewing and then coming back to us for approval.
Correct.
Yeah, you should make a matter of record.
Make a motion to make this a matter of record that Seth Caldwell is officially resigning from Decatur Police Department.
Bill?
Second, yeah.
Okay, so moved. All in favor of that? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And made a matter of record.
Deputy Chief Mahan and I will be getting with Phyllis about reimbursement of some of the equipment. We can salvage some of that equipment for the new officer, like the flashlight.
Right.
The badges, they weren't personal badges. I think it'd just be mostly the clothes, so.
Right.
But we'll get together with Phyllis on the inventory on that.
All right. And personally, I mean, do we even need to make a motion to proceed? I think he just goes ahead and proceeds, comes back to us with your recommendations, is what I would say.
I would include that in the motion if Craig and Bill are so inclined to add that.
Yes, in the motion for under Seth's.
Accepting the letter of resignation, authorizing Lenny to proceed to
Move forward,
interview
yeah.
applicants
Okay.
for a replacement.
So that, Barb? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, that's that. Now you got another request then, Lenny.
Yes, this goes to the pictures, Councilman Ossaw.
This what?
The pictures.
The pictures now.
We're talking about here.
Yeah.
As you know, the department has Narcan, and I believe we're the only law enforcement agency in the county that is certified, and we do have Narcan. I was telling earlier in the department head meeting that 3 of my guys actually used all their Narcan on one subject about a week and a half ago. So that wiped me out of my inventory. So I made some calls and actually got a hold of the Indiana State Department of Health, told them my situation, checking up on the grant that I worked out with the health department, and she told me, Chief, you come down right now, I'll give you 60. So me and Brad Stoltz drove to Indy, got 60, and then she's going to mail me another 60 more within a couple weeks. So it was about $4,500 worth of Narcan that we got from the state, so we're very happy with that. But also when talking with the officers, if you look at the photo, there's one officer, I don't know if you guys ever seen our police officers in full gear, but they do carry a lot of stuff around their waist. I took a picture of one of our young ones here, the front and back, and after an 8-hour shift plus a couple more hours if they work overtime, that gets to be pretty heavy after a while. So if you look on the third page, Fort Wayne PD has a tactical vest. And that tactical vest, which I wanted to go to, was because a lot of our guys carry a lot of medical equipment on them. This vest has a med pouch where they can put gloves, Narcan, Quick Clot, and also they can put their walkie and also their taser. So I checked into this and I went to Braitman's, and they're going to give us Fort Wayne prices on that. We're going to get a little bit of a discount. So I'm just asking, today's role of a police officer is more tactical than back when I started, was the shirt and tie, the press pants. Now officers are kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty on certain parts of the job. People are more combative. Guys are doing a lot more, actually being more of a medic too. And I'm seeking permission to get these tactical vests for the guys. They're all excited about getting them. They're all in favor of it too.
Let me jump in too, because you didn't tell everything about the the Narcan victim or the drug overdose. Without mentioning names,
Okay.
tell the whole story.
What happened was, the female came home and found her spouse passed out. Reserve Officer John Summers was first to arrive, and the lady was not given very good information, so John started doing chest compressions. John's our new captain of reserves. And then when he found out it was accidental overdose, he called for backup, and the guys showed up, and they gave the guy one Narcan shot, waited a few minutes, second shot, third shot finally woke him up. Sometimes it takes 3 to 5 Narcan shots to get these people, back. But we gave him 3 because we had 3 officers on that day, and then he took additional 2 more at the hospital. So the guys were very excited to use the equipment that they were giving, but later on I found out, I told early in the meeting that we never got a thank you, never got anything from that family. But as police officers, we're expected to do something, so I'm happy that they
Our
did the
guys saved a
training.
life.
Yeah,
They saved a life.
exactly, saved us alive.
It's a thankless job, we get that, but they were really happy how the Narcan really, how it worked. That was the first time that these guys used it, and I'm happy that we are using it, but I want to use it especially too for my guys in case they come across an unknown substance. That's one of the reasons when I got assigned to chief that I wanted to get Narcan, because working with the DTEC Drug Task Force, we was working with unknown powders, and I was deathly afraid to even touch the stuff. So, but these guys are very well deserving, and but like I said, now they can carry 2 Narcans with these med pouches on them that the new tactical vests will have. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get tactical vests for them.
How much are they a piece?
What's the cost? $200 a piece. That's the Fort Wayne price that we got through Braitman's. They'll also throw in the embroidery of the badge, officer's last name, and also the med pouch, the walkie holder, and the taser holder.
And you're going to want about 18 of them?
Predict 17.
17?
So this will be part of their regular uniform.
Correct. If you notice Fort Wayne PD, that's what they wear now. I met the chief at the chief's school, and he was reluctant about doing it because he's kind of a uniform guy like I am, but however, Fort Wayne goes through a lot of combative subjects, so nowadays they need more equipment, and that takes some of the weight off the gun belt.
Lenny, when you say they administer a shot,
It's a nasal spray that requires 1 shot up the nose, and sometimes you have to wait about 2 to 3 minutes before that takes fully effect.
Tim would cover liability and all that stuff.
Lenny's got a policy that's been vetted, and we've adopted it.
Okay.
Does this go over your bulletproof vest?
That'll actually go inside.
Oh, inside.
It's just the outer cover.
Okay.
Does
then
not
when
require
office-
new bulletproof vests, though. Those, like,
This is just the outside cover. Their vest that they have now will go in there. And also, when we get new vests, officers that vests are expired next year, all they have to do is just get the panels, and that will go in that tactical vest because we're getting it through Braitman's. And they're also giving us a combined discount with the vest and the tactical if another officer needs some, like with our new reserves coming in.
so for $3,400,
Roughly around there.
where you get the money
I have a pretty healthy equipment budget right now.
from your equipment budget?
We encumbered a lot of money for the new officers in the 2017 budget.
I did look at Lenny's budget today, and he does have money in there for equipment.
I'll make a motion.
Any comments here from council before we even move forward? It's a Board of Works decision, but I'd like council.
Also, I can add that the reason the guys like this tactical vest because there is a handle in the back of the neckline. So if an officer does get hurt, they can grab and pull him to safety. That was another safety feature that they liked about it. The current vest covers we have right now does not have that. They would have to actually grab with both hands and drag them. Here, they can grab one and still keep their weapon in view.
Okay.
Chief wants, I recommend the other.
I'll make a motion that we buy the vest.
A second.
A motion and a second that we move forward with the tactical vests from Braitman's in Fort Wayne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Lenny.
Yep. Oh, and one last thing, if you look at tonight's newspaper, Officer Hammond K9 Ivar, they graduated last Friday. There's a nice article in there. He called me up. He was very appreciative of that article. So, and I ordered a couple of badges for the dog too.
Cool.
So that'd be on.
Feel free to report on that late at the council too.
How does the dog wear a badge?
It's just for the photo. He'll have his own badge, but he won't wear it on duty though.
Okay.
It's kind of a customary thing they did with Jim Franzi and Shea Beaver's dogs when they were K9 officers.
Okay, that's
Thank you.
all for that. Council members, well, Tyler's not here yet. Tim, is there anything that we can discuss before Tyler gets here that you have? The only things I have left is the option to purchase.
I've got the option to purchase. I need to review the fiscal plan. I could go ahead and do that.
Okay.
We're just going to hear the same thing at the
Council meeting.
But the Board of Works needs to basically approve it. The fiscal plan is what has to be put together regarding a proposed annexation. This is the fiscal plan for the acreage at the city farm that's being proposed to be annexed for the water plant. And so in the past, a number of the annexations, we hired Christy Sturz to do it, but she would charge $8,500 to $9,000 to do it. And I told Ken I did the one for Bank of Geneva, and I could do this one because it's a relatively simple one. There's not a lot of complexity to it. And I could do it a heck of a lot cheaper than what Christy would charge. So
Thousands.
in any event, the location of the property is out off of County Road 600 North. The property that's being annexed is about 14.756 acres. The reason it's not the entire farm is we don't have sufficient contiguity that allows us to annex the entire farm. Frankly, we only have about 441 feet of contiguity that is adjacent to Lakeshore, so it limits the acreage that we can actually annex.
But then, in the future, if you were wanting to annex,
You can't piggyback off of that. You have to,
do you have, now that all of that would be city, would,
no, you can't piggyback off of that now and continue to
Later.
branch out. What we'll have to do at some point is have Gene Dryer annex.
Oh.
There's a long strip that's wooded area between, as you go further south to 550, that isn't annexed, and once that does get annexed, then you can annex the rest of the farm.
okay.
So that's probably how we'll have to do
Even
it.
if you only annexes a portion of it, just enough to
Yeah.
get us the
Yeah.
boundary.
There's nobody living in this area, so there's no increase in population, there's no residents in the property area, there's no buildings. The farm was acquired in the 70s for future use by the city, and it was anticipated that at some point water usage, so that's consistent with what we're talking about in this case. The annexed area will be used for ingress and egress to a new water plant to be constructed within the annexation area. The rest of the farm will be used either for the new well field or continue to be used for agricultural purposes. Zoning would probably fall under our agricultural zoning under our code because that's the most consistent and similar type of zoning as it currently is zoned in the county. If there were any types of zoning changes requested, then obviously that would have to go through the Plan Commission and Council. As it's zoned and brought in under agriculture zoning under the city, it would need to go through a special use exception for the City Board of Zoning Appeals in order to make use of that property for a well plant. But that is a legitimate use as a special exception. There's no assessed value for the property at this point based on the records in the county because it's an exempt property. It's city property. The taxing rate in North Washington is $1.8297. Decatur, Washington is $3.1044, so there'd be a percentage increase of $1.2747. Again, it's not going to have a major impact on anybody because there's nobody there to pay any increased taxes. It would go into Council District 1. You have to identify what council district any annexed property goes into, and that could change at a later time, at the time of reapportionment. If they're if you had to restructure district lines, that could change. You also have to identify that the territory to be annexed meets the contiguity requirements under the statute. Indiana Code 3643 requires that you at least have a 12.5% contiguity test met. This has slightly over 13%, so we do meet that requirement, but not by much. Then you get into the need for the annexation. The purpose of this, one of the principal functions of a municipality is to provide safe and adequate potable water to citizens and businesses. This is critical for public health, safety, fire protection, for economic sustainability and growth. The city water utility is requesting annexation. Planned development is to establish a new well field and construction of water plant. And that's due to the age and location of the existing East Monroe Street plant and the drop in production at the city's well field east of Decatur. Construction of the well plant and well field on city-owned property is the most economical option, and that construction at that site will remove a critical infrastructure from a floodplain, which is where our East Monroe plant currently is located. And it also allows for redundancy, so if we had a plant go down, we still have a second plant that can provide source of water. It also allows for the upgrade of the other plant once this is operational. So that's the reasons for annexing this and developing it as we're anticipating. It's reasonable to expect that water needs will grow in the future, and as this growth occurs, by having this new facility in place, it allows us to meet that future need, and by extending the boundaries to the east, the city will have zoning oversight on the land that is being developed, and most likely this development of the city's utility infrastructure could lead to future development down the road. Obviously, you can't build new homes unless you have potable water to supply. With regard then, in terms of a summary, the city is considering the annexation form because it meets state law, contiguity requirements is needed, and can be used by the Decatur community to support public health and safety and economic development. Then you look at the municipal services and what kind of costs the city is going to incur to annex this property and then provide the services that are required under the statute. Basically, the municipal services aren't going to be significant. There are some capital expenditures, but you look at what's included for police and fire protection, street and road maintenance, other non-capital services, and some have to be provided within a year, others have to be done within 3 years. And then, so we look at each one of those. With regard to police department, this would not be much different than what we showed for both the jail and for the Bank of Geneva. So I used the same figures as those fiscal annexation plans showed. Basically, we showed 2 additional runs. Police department in the past identified the cost per call as $150. I'm sorry, 3 calls per year. And so the estimated annual cost would be $450 to make 3 calls if you add them. There's no capital cost because we're not having to add personnel or build new police station to accommodate the providing of those services to that annexed area. With regard to the fire department, again, I used the same information we used in previous fiscal plans. It was anticipated at 2 calls per year. I think I talked to Les about this when we did that back for Bank of Geneva. There's a cost analysis. I think the initial response, the first hour for engines, $250, $100 for command and support vehicles. Second additional hour cost would be $150 for engines, estimated for, and an estimate for initial response $850. So totaling that up would be about $1,700 for 2 runs a year. Again, it's not anticipated that would be a real problem. The annexed area is going to be roughly 2 to 2.5 miles from the fire station, and then response time would be 5 to 6 minutes. And then in terms of a second mutual aid station would probably come from Monroe, and that's about 8 miles away. So with regard to solid waste disposal, there's no capital cost, no estimated annual cost. Streets, there's not going to be any new streets added. There would be some improvements made to a stone drive that currently goes back to the gun range, so that would be enhanced. I talked to Jeremy. He said maybe $500 up front and then maybe another additional $500 to maintain that drive each year. So you got capital cost of $500, estimated annual cost of $500. With regard to park and recreation, there's no capital cost, no estimated annual cost. You're not increasing any costs there. Water, obviously, we're making significant improvements with regard to the water field and with regard to the water plant to the tune of capital costs of $6,261,000. Estimated annual cost, when you look at the amortization of the bond payments, is about, on average, $330,616. But that plan is going to generate estimated annual revenues of probably $1,250,000. And that's based upon the fact that annual revenues are estimated based on our rate study that was done by Crow of $2.5 million once both plants are up and operational. The city just divided that in half and said each plant would roughly raise half of that revenue. So the costs are going to be covered through annual revenues as far as the debt service for the improvements that are going to be made through the bond issue. Sanitary sewers, there really isn't much in the way of any improvements. You're going to have to run a lateral, but that's part of the construction costs of the facility itself. If the facility would pay roughly about $35,193 annually for access to sewer, and I took that based off of what we do for the East Monroe plant. But we're also going to recoup that because that's additional revenue that's going into the plant itself, so it's kind of a wash there. With regard to stormwater sewers, we use the same information basically as what we had for the plant, taking and looking at what we did at Bank of Geneva, and it's roughly $54 a month or $648 annually. So that would be new revenue that comes into the stormwater, but it's offset by the additional cost to the water utility, so it's kind of a trade-off there. Administrative services, there's no cost, upfront capital costs or estimated annual costs. We're not increasing personnel to provide administrative services to the annexation area, so there's no additional cost there. Liability for township debt, this was the same for Bank of Geneva. There's no debt service currently in Washington Township, so there's no capital costs or estimated costs. We're not anticipating hiring any governmental employees displaced by annexation, so there's no cost there. So the purpose of the next section is to look at projected revenues and expenditures, and that's done over a 5-year period. And there's a breakdown of our property, our tax rate for the city itself, and that is between corporate, general, park and rec, street, human cap development, fire pension, police pension, but it's really immaterial in this particular case because there's no revenues that are going to be collected through property tax revenues. With regard to expenditures, the annual cost to police is $450, fire $1,700, streets $500, water $336.16, sanitary sewer $27,072, storm sewer $648. So the upfront capital costs are $6,261,500. The annual costs are $360,986. The summary shows what those projected expenditures are and what the annual expected revenues would be. And then that's a combination of water revenue, sewer revenue, stormwater revenue generated by the annexation, and those figures total over $3,750,000. So the net effect, when you factor in the water revenues that are generated through the new plant, is in excess of $2 million. So
Per year?
Yeah. So there's more than enough revenue to cover the expenses, and so the estimated tax effect on taxpayers, given that there's no population, there's no anticipated effect one way or the other. The recommendation of the fiscal plan then would be that the fiscal plan meets state law requirements, shows that the city of Farm annexation is in accordance with the applicable state statutes, and therefore it's recommended that the passage of the annexation ordinance be made by council and approved by the mayor. so that the annexation would be effective or completed July 1, but it won't go into effect until 31 days after the publication of the annexation ordinance. So the annexation ordinance, after the public hearing at council, would be introduced, read on the first two readings, tabled to your June 19th meeting. At that point, you'd adopt it on third and final reading. That gets published. Once it's published, 31 days after that, then the annexation is completed.
So you gotta repeat all that.
Hey,
I do, but this is for the board to approve and recommend to council that it approve it.
first of all, I want to thank you for a very thorough summary. You covered it all. That was well done.
Mhm.
I don't even think there's any questions.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this from the Board of Works and go on to council.
Second.
Motion and a second to recommend council's approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Tim, you didn't have your mic on. How in the world are we going to change it?
You good? That's okay. I'll probably talk louder.
Barb, did you get all that?
He didn't have his mic on, so hopefully you don't have to repeat it.
Well, I will at council. Try to remember to turn that off.
No, I'm not doing it again. Can we do it?
When the council meeting, we can go to the next break.
Thank you.
While he's reading
You
it.
hit all the nails on the head, buddy.
All right.
Yeah,
voice
very thorough.
enough that the other mic is
I hope. I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Board of Works passed.
Okay. Okay, then the second thing, and I'll kind of go over this with you, but on May 21st, I received a letter from Will Ramsey up at Barrett McNagny. He is the attorney that's representing the city in the Ed Gage lawsuit on disannexation. Apparently, Mr. Gage has decided that he's going to drop pursuit of his appeal of the Board of Works decision, and I received a letter to that effect. So I'm waiting to hear back from Mr. Ramsey that a motion to dismiss with prejudice has been filed, and once that's approved by the court, that will effectively terminate the proceedings. There's a difference between filing a motion to dismiss with prejudice versus a motion to dismiss without prejudice. The latter allows you to file again. The former means that once it's approved by the court, you can't resurrect it and file it again. So we want it dismissed with prejudice. Okay? So as soon as, and that's what I explained to Mr. Ramsey, that's what I want. So as soon as we get confirmation of that, I'll let you know, but I thought that was good news.
So that'll put that to bed.
Should have put it to bed.
What do we need to do? Do we need a record?
You can make a matter of record, a letter, but beyond that, we don't really need to do anything at this point.
Make it a matter of record.
Second.
Motion and a second to make a letter from Barrett McNagny, letter of record. Matter of record. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This is for Phyllis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing would be, we've already covered the release on Primco. I'm going to meet with Mike Blee tomorrow morning regarding the lease space in the Second Lofts building, and that is something that will come before council on June 19th. Hopefully we'll have the terms and conditions fleshed out. We did meet a week or two ago regarding the original draft that was submitted. It was drafted in such a way that it didn't make a lot of sense because it made reference to the city sharing in shared common areas. There are no shared common areas, so we're going to totally revamp the lease agreement, and that's what Mike and I are going to work on tomorrow. My position is that the lease payment should be $1 a year, because initially it was suggested that they would deed it to the city for $1. You have to have some consideration. $1 a year is a minimal amount, and we would set it up that we can just pay that up front and be done with it. The term of the lease is probably going to be either 15 years with an option to renew for 15, or it could be a straight-out 30-year lease. But I know that for tax credit financing, they have to have control and a commitment for 30 years. So I anticipate that it would be for that period. Okay. Keep you posted. As far as the city utilities, I think everything's going to be on separate meters, so we would pay our own utilities for our space, they would pay theirs for theirs. We're responsible for any interior improvements in terms of how we lay that out and utilize the space. They're required to maintain the shell of the building itself, so that should include the roof, the exterior, and the structural integrity of the building itself. Okay? Then I'm also going to be discussing with him the parking lot lease, and that's something that'll go before the redevelopment commission tomorrow night. So hope to have that ironed out as well. There's some procedural steps that we have to take, and I'll explain that to Mike. We have to get a couple of appraisals, but Ken and I have been working on this the last few days, trying to line up the appraisals, and believe it or not, it's very difficult to find anybody that can do it in a timely fashion, let alone do it at all.
Tim came through.
So we got it figured out, and we're probably going to use Don Bergdahl, because under the statute, if the ground is less than 5 acres, if the value is probably less than $10,000, you only have to have one licensed appraiser, and then the second can be an employee of the municipality that has the redevelopment commission. So Don actually has some leased spaces himself, so he's familiar with rental values downtown. And I shared with him some information about others that I'm aware of, including our office. So between that, I think he can come up with the second appraisal, and then you take the average of those two, and then you have to actually advertise that, and then Biggs would bid on it based on certain conditions that would have to be met, including the development of the property for the intended use, and putting in a specific dollar amount minimum. And really, the only person that's going to be willing to do that is Biggs. So it allows us to focus on getting the property to them, which is what is intended. So we'll go over that. I'm going to meet with Kevin on Thursday, and then Tina Wolf on Friday regarding the Cocosing contract. It's for the clarifier, and they've been very patient with me, and I apologized to Tina today when I called her. Between my mom's situation and everything that's been going on here lately, I just haven't had a chance to get to it, so I assured her that I'll meet with Kevin on Thursday, and then we'll sit down with Tina on Friday, work out the details of the modifications that I'd like to see made, make sure that that's done, and that'll come before the board on June 19th for final approval and signature. With regard to the last matter, this is on the McWilliams property.
Hold on a second. Well, I wanted to back up to the loft apartments. A question that Melissa and I have been discussing, and that is, and we got an email from MKM, the person that's designer for Biggs. We had a meeting with them on May 14th. 10 days later, he wanted to touch base with us regarding the meeting, and wants to confirm the final budget numbers for the build-out and follow up on the discussion that we had with him based on the requirements for bidding of that project. We feel as though it's going to be to our advantage to just use the same builder that Biggs is using. They're going to be there already. And if we do have to put it out to bid, that they likely would be the better bid.
They'd have the advantage.
They would have the advantage. And we told him we didn't know for sure if it's something we have to put out to bid, or if there's some kind of a clause or reason that we could...
Depends on the scope of the project and the amount of the cost of the project.
Well, we have a couple $100,000 budgeted for that, so it's not a cheap project.
Yeah.
It's interior work of a building.
Right.
As a representative of the Chamber of Commerce, I think it would be best if we had at least an opportunity to bid it to local bidders. Do you agree? I mean, am I wrong? That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a project, you'd have to look at the statute and our bidding, or our purchasing statute, but I think on a public works project, I believe it's a threshold now of 350,000 before you have to bid it. Then I think if it's below that, there are certain levels where you always have the option of bidding it regardless of the cost. But you can, if it's within a certain range, you can do it through sealed quotes, or you can do it by just going out on the open market if it's a very small project. But, if you're talking a couple $100,000, I think you may want to just go ahead and put it out for bids. I think that the company that's already there is probably going to have the advantage over anybody else.
Questions, Melissa, on that? That was kind of the answer we were wanting to know.
Yes, just one way or the other. It depends on how, that answer is going to be dependent on how MKM structures what their fee would be to...
You're going to have a greater fee on their part to develop the bid specs.
Right.
Right.
So either way, we just needed to be able to know
Yeah.
to proceed with an answer for that.
Okay. Now if you want to continue on, and
Okay.
Tyler's still not here, but I think I don't have anything other than the McWilliams thing and pay rate scenarios.
That's, McWilliams is the last thing that I had listed to cover.
Yep.
Okay, as you recall, we've been having ongoing discussions with Micah McWilliams regarding the property here at First and Monroe, and the mayor has done a great job of getting Mr. McWilliams to understand the need for, or the desire of the city to acquire that property for different reasons. One is we have an ongoing problem with sewage getting into our stormwater system, which we have to address to satisfy item, or we're going to get in trouble with them. The second thing is, obviously, we'd like to get control of that property because it's not the most sightly property. And thirdly, it's kind of in the way of any kind of long-term future development of riverfront, which is what we've always envisioned as well. Mr. McWilliams has agreed to come down on his price to the point where we've gotten him to agree to give us an option. The option price would be $15,000, and then it gives us time to figure out how we're going to fund this. It also allows ample opportunity for current tenants to be removed from the property, or at least be given notice, as they're required to under the law to vacate. That eliminates the discharge of sewage until we get the building tore down, and then that would be a permanent solution. It also would give us time then to take the procedural steps that we may have to in order to fund the acquisition. This is something that the Board of Works has to approve approve the option. Obviously, council needs to weigh in terms of approving the option price as well as the purchase price. The purchase price would be the average of the two appraisals that we previously obtained. If you recall, Mr. McWilliams early on was looking at a much, much higher figure than what the average would allow. And initially, he showed no interest in selling the property, but the mayor has been very persuasive in explaining to him why it's in our best interest as a community to do it, and ultimately, Mr. McWilliams has agreed.
And Mr. McWilliams is a very nice man. I will give him that. I think he's a very honest, nice, good businessman. And once I kind of talked to him about love of community and, wanting to make your community better, and his love for Santa Barbara where he lives and whatever, I think he then realized that, it's doing the right thing for us, and that's when he decided to work with us.
So the negotiated is $15,000.
The $15,000.
$15,000 is for the option, and we would, if we exercise the option, we would do that by July 18th, because he doesn't want to give notice to tenants to vacate before he knows for sure that we're buying it. We don't want to necessarily commit now until we know for sure, one, council is going to approve it, and two, you know how you're going to fund it. And then if we do exercise the option, we do so by signing the purchase agreement, and he signs it. We do that on July 18th, then he gives notice to his tenants on July 31st that they have to be out by August 31st, and that's the date we'll close in. So there's just a lot of timing elements here that we had to kind of work through in order to give the council sufficient time to do what you need to if you're going to go this route, and then also to give notice to Mr. McWilliams' tenants. He's been reluctant for this to be openly discussed up to this point because he doesn't want to alarm people unduly if in fact the city's not going to go forward.
Right. Yeah, I've by email told you all about that, but I would ask the department heads and even the public that's here this evening, and we're going to discuss it again at the council meeting. It still holds true. I'm hoping that the media won't put a front page article on there tomorrow that this is happening, but Micah McWilliams, I want to respect his he wants to tell the tenants. He doesn't want the tenants to hear it through the grapevine. And I assured him that we wouldn't be talking about it publicly until after he told all the tenants. Now, he knows that we're meeting and that we're discussing this evening. He knows that we're discussing this evening, and that I believe he's likely going to be telling the tenants in the next day. So, but in the meantime, let's not run out and, yeah, let's let him do it.
Do we need a motion?
Well, yeah, ultimately, the whole price...
If you're going to need a motion to approve the option agreement at a cost of $15,000, authorize the mayor to sign it, subject to council appropriation.
What's the total price tag?
Well, there's
15 for the option, 103 for the purchase.
The two appraisals were $106,000 and $100,000, average $103.
Which is the maximum the city can pay for the
Right.
property.
And then $15,000 for the option. So a grand total of $118,000. And which was Phyllis will reappropriate funds from CCD to pay for it.
Request an additional.
Request an additional appropriation. Yeah. We'd likely close in August.
August 31st.
No set plans on what to do with it or when to do it. So.
Is it something we can tear down?
It is something we could tear down. Yeah. You know, there's been, when I sent that out to all of you, I had a couple of comments, but I'll mention Cam Collier. You know, he wanted to know why we wanted this, and because I think Cam has always kind of had a vision of that house being repurposed for something like a restaurant or something. And, you know, the best answer I could give him is, do you want to buy it, Cam? You know, if anyone wants to buy that place and repurpose it into anything, now's the time to speak before we, you know, it's in bad condition and it would cost a lot of money to repurpose it for anything, so.
And the sewage.
Yeah.
And the sewage issue.
Right.
It's gonna cost them.
That's expensive.
So likely...
I somewhat agree with Kim in that it really was a neat building 20 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Mhm.
But it's a terrible condition at this point. Hasn't this Mr., has he ever been here to see the house?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when he bought it, him and his father came and worked on it for a few months.
Really?
Yeah, when he first bought it. And then, and some of his tenants have been living there since he purchased it, which, 5 years, 6, 8 years, I'm not sure how long he's had it, but...
Yeah, I'd love to see a restaurant of some sort in that stretch. I don't know if that would be.
So, if Board of Works is so moved to
Approve the option?
approve the option, then we'll take it before the council later on, and then...
Approve it subject to council appropriation of funds.
Exactly.
And authorize the mayor to sign if council so does.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. You're done? Last thing I have on the agenda is to discuss the employee raise scenario. I think Phyllis emailed everyone, and the cover page that goes along with the documents that she included pretty much tells the whole story. This is not dead set in stone, it's just something so that the department heads can work up their budgets. You can look at the first document that she gave us. The last 3 years, 15, 16, and 17, the employees got 2% raises. Year before that, we gave everybody a flat raise of $800. 2 years before that, it was 2%. So the economy's been good. I think the county's looking at 3%. Phyllis has given us the numbers. If we go 2% or 3%, at 2%, the city would pay approximately an additional $105,100. Okay? And at 3%, the city would pay an additional $145,350. You can go 2.5%, and it's basically going to be $120,000 or $125,000, whatever. So, with that, while we're talking about this at the Board of Works meeting, I would like council to weigh in on it. And this is just, like I said, this is, as Phyllis wrote here, we will discuss if you want to give pay raises for 2019 at the Board of Works meeting Tuesday. We won't adopt the salary ordinance until later in the year, but we need to know how much she can tell department heads to include in their 2019 budgets. So.
If you were to add employees, is this where you do that?
No. This is just taking the same amount of employees that we have right now, giving them all a 2% raise. It costs the city $105,100. If we give them a 3% raise, it costs the city $145,350 over and above what we're paying out this year in salaries, based on 40-hour work weeks, no overtime, all that. So,
As mayor overseeing everybody, do you think money is a retention issue or problem?
we haven't had a big problem retaining employees, but to me, it's not so much that as more so what is deserved. And my personal opinion, the economy, it's a good economy we've been in. Everyone's been busy. All of the people on our, you can ask Jeremy, Don, our police, fire, right down the line, even Kevin, the girls out front here, everyone has been working their tails off this past year. Even Tim. Tim shared with me the other day how many more hours he's putting in for the city of Decatur than what he did just 5 years ago. And I know Phyllis and I are both just, yeah, crazy. I mean, I go home at night and I get right back on my computer and start working some more. So.
I always come from the thought that you protect your greatest asset, not your employee.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I think you want to consider that the county can set a precedence. I mean, not that we have to follow what they do, but I think as a PR type of thing, you may want to consider that. I mean,
we give the department heads the okay to work on a 3%. Like, again, we won't pass it until later in the year. We can always change it, lower it. That's my personal opinion. I would prefer this year for us to go with 3%.
Is this a Board of Works function?
No, this is just a recommendation, yeah, so that we can give it to the department heads. Like I said, it won't really be addressed until later in the year. Right, Phyllis?
We just need to know what the budget. So
Yeah.
if you say a 3%, then the budget's going to have 3% in it. But if you don't want that much, then we'll do a different amount, or whatever
Looking
you're
at
recommending.
all the employees, all the way across the board, everyone's done a great job. We're taking on some additional work. We're really saving the city a lot of money. We're making a big impact. It's only 1%, but I think it would be, the employees would really appreciate the additional 1% over what we've received the last few years.
If you don't know how hard the employees work, go out and watch them sometime. I watched them right out front here yesterday in a hole that they had dug, and it was amazing not only how hard Marty Martin was working down in that hole, but the talent that I saw him display, and the luck that he had while he was down that hole.
Mayor, do you see any additional employees
Yes.
in 18? And what-
Yeah, I think that Kurt will likely add staff next year. I will likely add staff next year. I don't know what the exact title will be, but we need, everyone in this building needs some assistance. Kevin's girls up front need help with answering. I mean, if they just didn't have to answer every call that came in here, that would help them a lot. I need a lot of help. And as we continue with the renovation of the upstairs, and Phyllis moves upstairs, Melissa moves back there, Kurt's offices are made bigger by moving back into somewhat of Phyllis's space. We could put a new person up in Melissa's office that could be on it would be under the mayor's budget. What the title is, if it's mayor's assistant, I'm not sure, but to help me with some of Melissa's on my payroll, and this person would be basically helping Melissa and I, and the girls primarily. Anybody else have additions to, we added to police and we added to fire in this past year.
After our discussions last night, I think it would be a smart move to add a person to the Parks Department next year, so they can learn how to maintain the ball diamond and work with the baseball.
I'd
team.
agree with that.
So whenever this project happens, that they're not just coming in, they'll know the whole process, they'll know how
There
to take
needs
care of
to
the diamonds,
be-
they'll be here for the construction.
There needs to be a front person for that.
That's probably more important sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
That was concerning when they said we're hoping to have somebody do things.
You can't help it, yeah, it has to be planned.
I don't want Tyler to get...
And then again, will that person do that so many months a year, or will they be tasked out there year-round? I know I shared yesterday, I was up in Kendallville last week, and they have a guy, and I think he's there year-round. But there are tennis courts, soccer fields, ball diamonds, they have a lot of things at that one complex. This is just going to be ball diamonds.
Well, they could do ball diamonds, and the ones that keep younger, and the ones that workmen,
Well-
they could take care of the plaza, they can take care of that part. I could find them all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Jeremy and I will talk about that if he thinks it's necessary to bring someone on at the beginning of 19, and
Even if it is in the spring on that.
yeah, if we budget to bring them on later in the year, we'll talk about it.
But the Parks Department
And the
is-
Parks Board will have to,
Yeah, they
weigh in on that.
have, for all the years I've worked here, I don't think they've ever added any full-time staff. And for all the property we own now, with all flood properties they mow now, I don't see how they keep up with it, really. I'm surprised they haven't asked.
What she has, every foot of property by Roosevelt Public School, right?
Yeah.
And we give her help, pull people from other departments to give her help. For an example, the month of May every year is terrible. We don't
The
have
grass
enough-
can't-
We don't have enough mowers to go around, and we're gonna have to do something here.
I just don't want to get
Relatively
behind.
short term here.
I'll
Well, even
pick,
keeping up on her spraying, I don't know how she does it. I mean, that's a
Plus,
lot.
plus the little things I give her.
and then the Hannah Nutman video came out, and they basically said in that video
It's
that
not setting very well with a lot of the parks people either. FYI.
it says, in that video, it says that Hannah Nutman hadn't been taken care of. It was kind of a slam to the Parks Department. I've already apologized to Sue personally.
well, but, I mean, part of that... I
That's
don't-
marketing.
It's marketing, but I don't think it's, and I can see where she would take offense to it, but
Mhm.
I think what we're saying is if they need help, we need to get them help.
And maybe the reason it's in the condition it is because they haven't had enough help.
Right.
You know,
I wanted
and that
to,
hasn't been a priority, or for the amount of help as a priority.
I want it throughout the city. I mean, I drive by Belmont High School every day. It doesn't look nearly as nice as it did years ago. And maybe it's just they need more help. I realize that's not our department, but I was in Bern, and South Adams looks beautiful compared comparatively to.
I think I only have 2 mowers at Belmont
Well,
to do all that ground.
it,
Well, there's multiple things there.
in whatever those issues are, I just don't want to get behind the game on stuff we own.
But I totally agree with what he's said there.
So in answer to the question, yeah, there
There
at
could be
least 2,
more.
maybe 3 more people on staff next year.
I will also, just to add to what you said as far as the workers, I mean, they've been coming at night out here,
Yep.
working
double shifts.
multiple hours
Yeah.
beyond the normal day, so.
There's over 180 some hours of overtime left to week.
Yeah.
Of overtime.
Well, I'll start the ball rolling if, what little input I can give for this, because council has to approve it.
Well,
I would recommend 3%.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second from Board of Works members to budget a 3% raise, and call for a vote on that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Got that, department heads? Work on that, and we'll go from there. I don't have anything else. Wiley, go ahead.
If you have a moment.
Yeah.
From Main Street, the kiosk out here, we've been struggling with keeping a good internet connection with that. And yeah, Jeremy, if you come on up, and working with Jeremy, we have a solution, but we need to ask permission for some equipment to be mounted here in this building. Well, Jeremy, would you go ahead and...
Basically, right now, the kiosk is running off of a hotspot from Verizon that the city owns. It's not strong enough to run the kiosk fast enough. It bogs down, such. Well, right now, Community Fiber Solutions will actually be here tomorrow to run the fiber optics into this building that you guys approved some months ago. When they were in here and we were looking at the upstairs, we discussed the problem that we're having up front, and I asked Community Fiber to give us a couple possibilities or a possibility on how we can take care of that. They came back with a figure of $400 to $500. What they would do is basically put an antenna up on top of the roof, just a small antenna. You would probably never see it from 2nd Street. It will set back up just a little bit, and it will run off your, basically the system here in this building. It will be secured. There's no way that someone walking down the street could hack into the system. You know, it's the right way to go about it. If you go any other way, you're going to have to actually wire everything over there, and
If we're going to have the kiosk, we got to have it running fast.
Correct.
And I think I've noticed lately that you've done some updating to it.
Right. Currently, you'll see too, when it's on the screensaver, we have some of our major contributors. You'll see that Bank of Bern, the hospital, big, and it's a big advertisement, full screen for that. But our problem is it's not always active because the internet is so inconsistent, and it does absolutely no good. It's a waste to just sit there.
Who does the updating?
We have that within Main Street. Brian Clemens has been doing that. Ultimately, our administrative assistant will take that over at this point, but that's who's been doing it. So I get we're needing permission. The cost, Main Street will take care of that $400 to $500.
So that's a one-time deal?
It's a one-time.
Yeah.
No monthly. All they're asking for is permission to put the antenna.
We need it. If we're going to have it, it's got to work.
It will not be permanently mounted to the roof. It makes, weighted stands.
The technology might change in a couple of years too, and it's different. For now, if that's the way to go, that's the way to go.
That's your only solution other than tearing the street up or going a different direction and hardwiring it over.
This is the simplest that we've found so far.
I can't have the sustain from this because
Chamber of Commerce bought the
Yeah.
majority of the
Yeah.
thing. So
No,
if you would-
that Main Street is covering that $400 to $500 cost.
Okay, and I don't have a problem with it.
They're just asking for permission to
Yep.
have
an antenna.
Have it put up on the roof?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion to give him permission to put the antenna up.
And I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
And take it to a vote. All in favor? Aye. And Craig has recused himself from voting, Barb, on that one. All right, with that, anything else before we take a 2-minute break? If not, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same?